Let us now derive the expressions of the electric fields of different charge distributions. It is important to know these equations because we can use superposition principle to calculate the electric field of a system that is composed of symmetric distributions. Also, at a certain distance and approximation, we can simplify these equations. Let's rewrite the electric field due to a bunch of source charges. So to visualize this, imagine this is point P. And we have a point source charge here, Q1, and another point source charge, Q2, Q3, Q4, and so on. If we would like to calculate the electric field due to this bunch of source charges, we use this equation. The electric field at point P is equal to 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught times the contribution of all the source charges. If we have n charges, we add the contribution of each source charge from I equals 1 to n r hat. Again, this is the electric field due to point charges. Let's temporarily call this equation as equation 2.1. If you have a continuous charge distribution, so for example, the total charge of this volume charge distribution is Q, then let's choose just an infinitesimal element of this distribution and let's name it as dq. And we would like to calculate the electric field, for example, at this point P. So the distance from point P to dq is r. And to calculate the total contribution of this charge distribution to point P, we just integrate the contribution from each element. So we write the electric field for this system as E equals 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught integral of dq over r squared r hat. Let's temporarily call this equation as equation 2.2. This is the electric field due to continuous charge distribution. This time, let's assume that we have a line charge along the z-axis. So for example, this is the x-axis, the y-axis, and the z-axis. Notice that for a line charge, we have the concept of linear charge density. To get the integral for linear charge electric field, we just plug this expression of linear density to equation 2.2. So when we have a linear charge distribution and we wish to calculate the electric field at point P, so we divide this into infinitesimal element dl and its linear charge density, assuming that the charge density along the wire is uniform, is equal to dq over dl. So if you have a finite length of wire, lambda is also equal to total charge of the wire over the length of the wire. So again, in order to write down the integral equation for a linear charge distribution, we choose an infinitesimal element of this wire with length dl and has a charge of dq. The distance of this dq to point P is r. Now let me rewrite this lambda here in terms of dq. So dq equals lambda dl. And let me rewrite the equation here. So we just plug dq here so that this becomes lambda dl. So for a line charge, the electric field at point P is equal to 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught integral of lambda dl over r squared. So let's temporarily call this equation as equation 2.3. This time, consider a surface charge that lies on the xy plane. We would like to calculate the electric field at point P due to the entire surface charge. In handling problems like this, again, let's choose an infinitesimal element of this surface charge and call it as dA. So the entire area of this surface charge is A. The area of this infinitesimal element is dA. Now recall that if this surface has surface charge density represented by the symbol sigma, then the charge of this element is dq equals sigma times dA. This expression for dq can be plugged into this expression for continuous charge distribution. So basically, this dq will become sigma times dA. So that's how we write the electric field for a surface charge distribution. So the electric field at point P for a surface charge distribution is equal to 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught integral of sigma, or the surface charge density, times to the infinitesimal element of the charge distribution over r squared. Then the direction is r hat for that specific infinitesimal element. And we integrate all the contribution from all the infinitesimal element of the surface charge. Let's temporarily call this new equation as equation 2.4. Later, it will become apparent why I am labeling this equation with equation numbers. Finally, for the most realistic case of charge distribution, consider these coordinates where a volume charge density of any shape, for example a cone, and we want to measure the electric field at point P. Point P is actually represented by three scalar values. Let's choose an infinitesimal element of this volume and call it as dV. For example, this infinitesimal element. This infinitesimal element has a volume of dV, while the total volume of the entire volume charge is V. Now, if this volume has a charge density ρ, then this volume charge density is equal to the total charge of the distribution divided by its total volume. Or if we assume that the volume charge density is uniform all throughout this volume, then we can also write ρ as dq over dV. We can rewrite this in terms of dq. So dq is equal to ρ dV. Again, if you want to measure the electric field at point P due to this volume charge distribution, we choose an infinitesimal element of this charge distribution. And for example, this one has a distance of r from point P. So starting from this, we can write down the integral for the electric field due to a volume charge distribution. Likewise, we just plug dq equals ρ dV to this expression. So this dq here becomes ρ dV. So the electric field at point P due to a volume charge distribution is equal to 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught ρ dV over r squared r hat. And to calculate the contributions of each infinitesimal element, we integrate this expression. And again, let's temporarily call this new equation as equation 2.5. Let's put these equations into action, and let's start with the electric field produced by a ring of charge. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and hit the notification bell button for awesome updates. Thank you for watching!